Now we're going to take a look at one of the most infamous tactics in Strat, something you need to be prepared for in every match. It's a move that can change the course of a game in a moment's notice. It's called wreck checking, and it's the art of threatening a recycler through the means of bypassing obstacles such as terrain and defensive measures which would ordinarily put a stop to any attacks from AI. A wreck checking is a tactic where a player goes solo and tries to destroy your recycler, normally from above by driving up the side of the walls of the map. It has also been known as the over-the-top strat in the past, and it can also be done by bypassing or ignoring defensive setups and blocking line of sight, so by going behind a recycler, or behind a barracks for example, or a hangar. Okay, so here's an example. On corner pocket again, there is an enemy base in the top right corner, in the northeast corner, and what I'm going to do is, because I'm on my own and there are a decent amount of defenses, instead of attacking it from the front, what I can do is go up the side of the wall, which is very easy to do, especially in Redux because there's smoothing on the maps. So I'm going to try and explain that shortly. I can come over to this base, try to spot the gun towers, and then just keep away from them. And there is a clear shot to the recycler. So these turrets have noticed me, but they can't really do anything because of the angle. They can't actually fire, it's too steep for them, and I can very easily get a kill on this recycler. And as you can see, it's quite quick, so half the health is gone already. And if you're not here as a player to stop this, it's often a guaranteed kill. I can do that, I can get away, and that was ridiculously easy. So that's kind of the most typical way you'd see this being done, is just to drive over the top of the wall, because it wasn't intended to be possible. That when the people who made these maps, when Activision made these maps, they actually intended for these walls to be like, you can't scale them, you can't climb them. They wanted it to be complete boundaries, obstacles. So the map is just this lower area. That's the only area you can play on. But they didn't, I suppose they didn't test it enough, and they realized that people can climb. And especially in Redux, because Redux adds, like I say, a smoothing feature to the map, which is not ideal. It makes the maps look prettier, but it does harm competitive integrity quite a bit. And now I'll show you how it's done by bypassing the AI. So here I am. So I have to get through 2 gun towers. There's a third here, and there's a few turrets. But because AI cannot shoot at you if you're behind things of their own team, so like a building, you can simply drive around, get around the back of the base, and then you're safe. You may take a few shots first, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to try it now, see what happens. I drop a thumper as I go through, and I might be able to get around it while the gun towers are disrupted. Okay, there we are. And there we go. So I took some damage, but I'm through. And how this works is the line of sight is blocked. So this turret's line of sight, it can't shoot me because of this hangar. If I move to the side, it will, well, it should eventually take a shot, yeah. As with that gun tower there, it can't hit me because I'm behind the hangar. This turret also can't shoot me because the recycler hitbox is just a bit too big there. So I can even move in a little bit closer. My gun tower there's close, but it's fine. And I could start hitting mortar. What you do is you'd link mortar to cannon and you get very high DPS, but I don't have my my biome turned on for now. It would be like this, I suppose. Oh. What am I doing? There you go. So like this, it kills it very fast. There we go. And then at this point, I probably will die, because I can't really escape now. But it doesn't matter, I have the recycler. So it's, you know, it's like if you imagine chess, you take out the queen with a knight or a pawn. It's it's such a good outcome. It doesn't matter if you lose that unit, that piece in the end. Same with this concept of wreck checking. If you take out the recycler, which is like the queen or the king, it doesn't really matter if you lose your tank in the process. You've got such a huge advantage now. You can just bail, just eject and get away. So we've covered so far climbing the wall, we've covered going straight into a base and driving past defenses, and now I'm going to load up onto Theatre of Pain and show you the way you can sort of drive behind hills and terrain as well. There it is. Okay, that took me a long time. I think like at least 7 or 8 tries there. I gave up at the north corner and then not in the center north, and I got it here. So yeah, it was always possible to do this. It's just very, very hard. It took me so much time to get that. Okay, let's just do a little demonstration. So yeah. Oh, that's not what I want. Okay, sum up, and indeed, if I had some SP, this would be a nice, easy kill. And AI will not be able to stop me. If there was, let's say, some gun towers, maybe. If they had the right angle, it's possible. If you position them in just a way where they can aim up and see the ledge, see the platform, and it's in range, you can have AI at least kind of force the player to abuse the AI of the gun tower, by sort of moving in and out of it. But yeah, so there we go. This is a good example here. It's just a little bit too steep for this boy here, so yeah. But if I move him back slightly, he should be able to hit me. Yeah, there we are. Okay. So gun towers can sort of stop this, but not reliably. It's not consistent, and I wouldn't depend on this to hold off this kind of attack. You need to be checking your radar for this, and then when you see a red square coming in, especially, I'll add like a label thing to make it clear. But on this map, you see the left and right sides, or the edge of the map basically. It's you know you can't get up here. You know AI can't get here. So if you see a red dot here, you know it's a player. The red square, you know it's a player coming up, and he's going to try this. I mean, if he spent the time getting up here, then he's going to try and capitalize on it, because like I say, it took me a real long time to get up here. You got to sort of maximize the speed. You got to go up the wall. You got to go up the wall like at a side angle, and then end up on 2 squares jutting out. It's really not easy at all, especially compared to Redux. On Redux, you can climb at any point pretty much. On this version of the map without HDT smoothing, you have to do it on a very certain point where you can see the terrain is just like positioned exactly as you need it. So yeah, I'll go ahead and kill this just to demonstrate the point. Even with the gun tower shooting me, you could just sort of ignore him and eventually get the job done. I could probably sit still.
Damage critical.
Yeah, there we are. TCA Recycle hitbox is just so damn big that you can just do this. And there is the kill. So that's a dead recycler, despite there being defenses there, so there you go. Okay, and now we're on Theatre of Pain, and this map is kind of unique in that the base areas with the recyclers, with the geysers, are very compact, and this does cause a lot of problems with playing. I mean, you can't really build a base, you can't really set anything up here. In this map, generally the only way you can actually build any kind of permanent base with gun towers and things is if you go to the edges of the map, like over here, or if you come down here and build, which is sometimes done, it's occasionally done. I sometimes like to set up here and then make a base in this open area here. So if I just actually get myself over there, sometimes I'll play a strat on Theatre of Pain on the east side, and I will set up a base here. This is if I want to force a long game or someone. I mean, Theatre of Pain is kind of famous because it's a really fast-paced match. Most games are like 5-10 minutes because it's whoever kind of expands fastest. But you can force a long game by doing this over there. That's just Theatre of Pain. But back to what I was mentioning, what I was explaining. The base areas are really compact, and so I wanted to just sort of demonstrate to you how you can use these elevated parts, these sort of hills, these edges, to your advantage, because they're not really walls. I mean, like you don't it's not a really big deal to climb them, because even AI can kind of climb this, but you can use it and trick the AI, I guess you could say, sort of just like abuse the AI's ability to deal with this. So let's just plop down a recycler, a NSDF recycler, and a factory, and let's give it some kind of defense. Let's just give it some tanks. Let's put a turret there. Yeah, okay, so that's something, you know, if you're on your own and attacking and you come towards this, it's not a pushover. It probably will kill you. It's quite a substantial amount of defense. It's 4 offensives and 2 turrets. But because of the way that Theatre of Pain has these really compact geyser sites, I can actually do this. So the AI's after me. I just got to link my mortar. Oh, there we are. It's really awkward without bind on. AI's after me, but it doesn't matter because this is so compact here that they really struggle to get an angle on me. I can just use this terrain to kind of dip in and out of cover, get the shots off, and it's really hard for the AI to actually stop me. So this is quite close. It's certainly going to be a close one. That scout is up here. That's a pain in the ass. I'm going to thump him away just to buy me some time. Come on. Oh, that's so close. I'm dead, but is the recycler dead? No. Very nearly, I think. It's basically dead. It's pretty much dead. Let's just try it again, just to really sell you guys the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, take 2. I've turned on my bind now, so I should be able to do this a little easier. Let's get this recycler. So now AI is on me. I'm a little bit stuck, but that's fine. Get back up here. Remember, there's 2 scouts, 2 tanks, and 2 turrets here. But despite that, they cannot really stop me. They're actually dying to the mortar now. Let's just get a few more in there, just to kind of decrease my chances of doing this. 3 more tanks. So imagine this is like a real game. The player's cranking out tanks to try and stop me from doing this, but it's not enough. It's not going to stop me at all. And as you can see, the AI just does not deal very well with hills, and even not even like a wall. This isn't really a wall. It's not very steep, but this tank does eventually climb it, but it takes them a really long time. And yeah, there you go. So that's essentially the third way to wreck check, is to jockey the kind of the hill, to sort of stay behind the hill and make the AI go around, and then just to dip in and out of cover, take the shot, fall back in, take the shot. As you can see, this is like the least effective way of the three, because I did fail the first time, just barely, but well, as you can see how effective it is. That's one tank destroying a recycler, even though there are defenses. Now, this wreck checking technique is very strong because you normally can't get defensive measures up onto the elevated terrain. So where a player comes in from above, it's normally completely safe to get there, and even when they are at the ledge, they're still often completely safe. And also to bear in mind that with SP Stabber you get 200 meter range, rocket bombs and blast you get 300 meters, and for mag cannon you get 300 meters on the first 4 charges, allowing you to hit things from very far away and usually in complete safety. Now, this is considered a cheap move, but ultimately it is your responsibility to keep your recycler protected and to be prepared for this tactic. In order for a player to commit to this, they have to give up fighting for control over the map, which hands it over to you. So this is a risk-reward gamble, and it's no different to any other established tactic like taking mid early or focusing startup on scrap collection rather than offensives. And also to note, I've been wreck checked countless times over the years. People have tried this on me more times than I can possibly remember, but very rarely does it succeed. Almost always my opponent was effectively giving up by handing over the map control to me. So even though they've gone for this maneuver, even if they happen to get the kill, in the rare instance they do manage to take out my recycler, because they have abandoned the fight in mid or whatever, I have taken the scrap and I have all the control in the world to finish off the game, even without a recycler. Like I say, so sometimes you'll be so ahead and in such a good position that you don't even need your recycler. You can just simply let it die, let them get the kill, while taking the scrap from a fight ahead in somewhere else on the map, and you can eliminate his base while he's away from home. So this is the key thing to bear in mind. When someone is doing this on you, they are not home to defend their base. And a base without a player commanding it is really weak when you know what you're doing. So it's effectively going to hand over to you the ability to push and to clear out the base. So remember to have a constructor and scavs alive at all times, just in case you do lose your recycler. Make sure you've got these pieces up and ready, because without them you'll be crippled, unable to take in scrap. So you need to have scavs and constructors or a silo. Let's talk about awareness. Always be checking your radar and keep the factory close to the recycler. The reason for this is that the factory has a 1000 meter range, but the recycler's radar is only 500. So if you keep the factory close to your recycler, you will have a ability to see any attempts coming in towards you in a much more time ahead. So you'll be able to see people approaching from very far away, and this can give you the time that you need to get back and to stop this. And additionally, if you're noticing that the enemy player is not around fighting you, if you can tell that he's not with his units, it's very likely, it's possible that he's en route to try and wreck check you. So be extremely aware of your map at this moment in time. So when you're fighting and you know he's not there, just be checking your map extra carefully for these few minutes. The giveaway signs that this is happening are fast moving single red dots or red squares on the map moving towards you, especially from the side towards your base, or a red square on terrain that cannot be accessed by AI. So up the steep walls on the edge of the map, if you see a red square there, especially moving quickly, it's guaranteed to be a player because AI cannot get there, and if someone is going up there, there's normally just one thing they're trying to do, which is wreck check you. Some other giveaways on the map or radar are yellow dots moving towards your base. This is ammo and repair power-ups. or maybe SP Stabber. So if you see yellow dots moving towards your base, he's probably setting up for an attack. He's got power up sitting outside where he's going to try it from. So obviously reload in case he doesn't quite finish off the job, because you may need to use Thumper to kind of disrupt the defenses. In regard to that, a single yellow dot is usually a day wrecker if you see that coming over, so get ready to shoot that down. And lastly, in terms of awareness, consider the layout of the map that you're about to play on and do some quick checks in game. So are there any elevated areas that can be accessed, especially by players? There may be some walls or areas that the AI can't get to, but a player definitely could. And so it's important to bear in mind that most walls can be climbed. A good example of an exception to this is Biometal Run. If you load into that map, you'll see that the walls around that map are really high, like 400 meters high, which is impossible to climb. And so yeah, with Redux, auto smoothing was added to maps, making them look nicer, but it means that you can climb them easier. And yeah, in the current tournament maps, the BZT18 tournament maps, they have this smoothing disabled thanks to Herp, but it still can be possible to climb. And an important detail to always remember is that walkers and pilots can climb any wall, no matter how steep they are. Give it a try. Take a walker and climb up a wall, you'll make it just fine. It takes a long time, but you'll climb anything, no matter how steep it is or how tall it is. You can climb it in a walker or pilot. So now let's talk about prevention. What do you do when someone is trying this? There is rarely a way to completely prevent this, but there are measures that you can put in place to make this harder to pull off. So number one, try to deploy your recycler in open space, away from walls and terrain, and features like hills that the player could use as cover to hide behind. So when we looked at Theatre of Pain, that map is interesting because you don't have this open space. You have to have a recycler by a hill, which is a weak point. So if you can, on some maps, try to get your recycler in an open area. You may have to give up on a geyser spot because it's too close to a wall, like 200 meters away from a wall, but this could prevent someone from getting it by doing this technique. Secondly, always avoid making your base too cluttered and packed, because the player can use buildings as cover, like we saw on Corner Pocket. Hangars and barracks and things like this can be used as a shield or to block out the view from gun towers and turrets. So because of this, you want to always be considering line of sight. Can this gun tower get a clear shot to the top of the wall around the base? Is the S-Power blocking a shot to the entrance? Is the hangar going to give a potential shield or wall for cover once they get in? And then obviously, do you really need it there? Do you really need a hangar in your base? If you watch me play, I very rarely have a hangar, kind of in general, because it's just so slow to help you out. I normally just drop repair, but especially I won't build a hangar in my base because it's just a huge wall of protection for a player. Once he gets inside, he's safe from my defenses. If I was to build one, I'd have it further forward, maybe even beyond my base, like on the periphery of the base, just so they can't use it to shoot my recycler from safety. And so yeah, on to this next point, make sure there is open space for your recycler to easily escape. I'll put up a clip showing a game I had against Vivify where I had my entrance kind of really blocked up by S-Power, and so I couldn't actually get my recycler out there. I couldn't even escape with it, so I had to just let it die. So be careful with that. Don't have your entrance blocked up too much of gun towers and powers. Make sure that there is an ability for your recycler to squeeze through and get out, or just simply destroy a power, which is something I discussed in the net scrap game video, a reason why destroying your own thing may be necessary. Additionally, at all times, keep some units back defending the recycler at all times. They may not be able to do much, but it is some kind of deterrent. If I'm playing and I see a recycler on its own, completely exposed, I'm going to kill it no matter what. I'm going to go straight to it. I'm going to drop what I'm doing. I'm just going to commit to this chance. Because I might not succeed, but it's going to be a really good opportunity for me to destroy the recycler. So as a result, just have some units there defending. if I see a recycler with tanks next to it, it's going to be a lot harder for me to successfully take them all out. It's going to buy you time as well. That's the main thing there. Having AI next to a recycler buys you time to get back and to hold it off. Never leave your recycler completely on its own. Additionally, keep advancing with your recycler. So as you take map control, as you take ground on your opponent, bring your recycler up with you. Because not only does this allow you to replace units faster and maintain greater momentum, it also means that you have a shorter distance to travel in order to get back and to hold off the wreck check attempt. Right, so if your recycler is close to you, up with the attack on a nearby geyser, if someone's trying to go around the map to get to it, you don't have to travel as far to confront him on it. Additionally, consider taking some time to defend it yourself. Just hang back at the recycler and wait a little bit, especially if you think this is likely to happen soon. So a situation where it would seem like this might be coming is if the player has stopped aggressing, they've stopped fighting for scrap, they stopped contending with you, and they've just given up the advantage, they've just given it over to you, and they've already lost that advantage, they're in a weak position. If they're in that situation, like you've just won the initial engagement, it's likely that they are going to resort to this like plan B kind of tactic. Additionally, consider placing a nav if there is an ideal spot that you can see the approach. So you may want to drive up onto the wall beside your base and then put a nav down there. This can help you get vision on whatever they're trying. You might be able to get an early warning from it. Response. How do you respond to this? When your recycler is being attacked, immediately undeploy it and then move it out of base. Normally with a follow me command is going to work for that because you'll be ahead. Now the reason why you would do this is that most of the time when a player is doing this, they can only shoot from a certain position or range. So when we saw on Corner Pocket, when I was on top of that, on the hill, on top of the wall around the base, I only had around 50 meters of distance to shoot, and anything beyond that distance I can't hit. So if you order your recycler to undeploy and move away, they may be able to get out of the range of the player. And this often actually forces the player to drop down into the base to finish off the job. Let's imagine the player's got the recycler to half health and it's moving out of range. They have to decide, I can either give it up now and just it didn't work and just go home, or I can drop in and try to out DPS the recycler in terms of the defenses, like just to take the hits and try to finish the job, which could still work especially if they have dual SP and a mortar, but most likely they're going to fail because the AI is going to destroy them. This is why you should be undeploying your recycler and moving it as soon as it's being attacked. And then additionally, you as the player, you need to get over there and you need to either thump them, which is what I like to do. I like to drop Thumper towards the wall because Thumper will move very fast up a wall, or just simply climb the wall and try to fight them. Because even if you drive up there and die, they've used up ammo and they're weak, and it might just be enough to stop what they're doing, because they won't be able to replenish their health and ammo unless they drop pods, which is quite unlikely. So try to fight them, try to waste their ammo, make them use up their ammo and their time, and then chiefly get units in position to punish their escape if possible. So a player has given up on this technique. If you can, try to get units in some kind of choke point to catch them, or just drive to their base, go to their base and await them to return. Okay, so just some recap, additional details. So I'm just going to sort of summarize the things I mentioned and just sort of give a brief conclusion, brief summary. Consider which terrain can be scaled. So Biometal Run, no, but Corner Pocket and Kangaroo Madness, yes. Redux versions very easily. Like I said, Thumper travels fast up a wall, so dropping Thumper towards a player on top of a wall is quite a good idea to disrupt them. Keep an eye out for the telltale signs on the map, the red squares, the yellow dots. Try to build your gun tower so they have the 200 meter range up to cliff edges and the angle isn't steep enough for them to aim at it, like we saw in the clip in 1.5 on a Corner Pocket when I was up on that hill and the gun tower was shooting the floor. This takes practice and careful base planning, But once you get used to it, you'll be able to sort of tell where you can put a gun tower, so it can also hit people on top of a wall. Howitzers do help. They're actually even better at this job if you give them standard mortar, which can be quite effective. But they, with standard mortar, they fire more often and they do more damage. And because they are used as defense, you don't need the extended range. A howitzer with mortar has a range of around 200-300 meters, depending on elevation. So that can be a good choice. Obviously, experiment with that, see how it works for you. Pop gun is useless. I've tried it. Believe me, I've tried out pop gun. It doesn't really do anything. It has a really short range of 100 meters, and it's just not a good choice. Red field can be used to get in close, so this is if you're trying to do it. You can use red field to get in close without showing on radar. However, this does burn through ammo fast, and you need to have an idea of when you need to be deactivating it in order to preserve the ammo to complete the kill. That's the main issue. So it really burns through ammo. You need to know when to switch it off and to switch it on. But with some practice, red field can be amazing. It can really give you free kills. So the conclusion. Part of what makes Battlezone so great is the risk-reward decision making and the need to think fast on the fly, adapting to how your opponent is playing. And if successful, a rec check can completely swing momentum of the game back in your favour. But if it doesn't work, then you have sacrificed a lot of time and control in the game, and it possibly means you won't be able to recover after losing that. If you fail at the attempt and you're ejected, you're very likely to die and lose a life. So these are some reasons why it's a very high risk maneuver. And additionally, against most players, against experienced players, they're going to see it coming and they're going to be able to stop you. Now, this may not be the most honourable move in the game, but for me it is a completely legitimate tactic as a high risk, high reward option. Like I said, that a strong strata should be prepared for, and they will punish them for being careless or too focused on the battle up front. Okay, so as a player who is a victim of this, if you're not thinking of this, if you're not preparing for it, if you're just focused on the fight for scrap, it is actually ultimately it is your mistake if you allow the opponent to reach and destroy your recycler, and by not responding fast enough with a counterplay to punish this in the moment. So in that moment of when he's doing it, his base is exposed, his units are exposed, and you need to do something as a counterplay to level the playing field if he does get your recycler. But lastly, just to sort of summarize this, just to sort of give a last note on this, remember that doing this rec checking move is normally a sign that you, against that player, you were indeed winning the battle for scrap, and your opponent felt that you were forcing their hand. So take from this loss and consider what you were doing right. You were winning the game at that point, because someone is not going to try this if they have scrap control and they're winning. It's a move that you make when you're starting to lose control of the game to swing it back to you. So if you're a victim of this, bear that in mind. You were winning. You were on course to win. Then your opponent did this maneuver, and you were not able to hold it off. You were not able to prevent it. So consider what you were doing right, and then apply that to the mistake of leaving your recycler exposed. And as a result, return to the stratting field as a stronger and more complete player. That's all, guys. Thank you.